Hello. Today I'm going to go through a little bit about creating vectors in MATLAB. So let me just type that, create a vector. Remember that the percent sign gives us simply a comment and MATLAB does nothing with it. So if I wanted to create a row vector, I could say x1 equals square bracket 1 space 2 space 3. Without a semicolon, it will give me the output, and there it is. Nice row vector. We could also use commas. x2 perhaps equals square bracket 1 comma. Well, let's make this something different. That's 4, 5, 6, and we get the same idea. We could make a column vector. Let's call it column comma y, underscore y. We could do something like equals 1, and now we use a semicolon, which is like a carriage return. You can think of it that way. 2, 3. And now we get a column, which is nice if you're trying to output a table. If I wanted to know how many elements were in a particular vector, we use a built-in function. So I could say elements in, say, x2 equals. So elements in x2 is actually a variable name. And I'm going to say it's the length. All right, this is a built-in function, so I have to give it an input, just like you would on a calculator. And notice as soon as I put the parentheses in, MATLAB gives me some help and says, all right, this is a built-in function, and it's looking for the name of the array that I'm concerned with. And in this case, let's put in x2 and paren, and there are 3 elements in there, so I should get 3, which I do. And each time I've been hitting return, notice over in the workspace that we have gotten those variables and they list what they are. We can concatenate vectors. We could say vector z, or an array is, say, x1, and combine that with, say, x2. It concatenates it, and now we have a vector z with 6 elements in it. It is dependent on the order in which you put them in, so I could say x2 space x1, and I'm using space or comma interchangeably, and you'll notice that it mattered. The order mattered. Another function we can use in MATLAB, let's say w equals, is something called linspace, S-P-A-C-E. And again, it's a built-in function, so I need a parentheses. Again, it gives me some options, A, B, and N. And the way linspace works is it says, give me the first element of your array, give me the last element, and then tell me, so that's the first and the last, it's like an interval on the number line, right? Then it says, how many elements do you want? If I don't put any in, it defaults to 100. So let's just put 4 for this. And it gives me 4 elements equally spaced between 0 and 10. It's a nice way of, if you know your end points and how many elements you want, it's a nice way of splitting up an array. The last type of array command is something called a colon operator. So we use the colon. Let's say w1 equals 0 colon 3 colon 15. This is different than linspace in that my stop and start, my start position here would be 0, my end position would be 15, and 3 is not how many elements, but it's the spacing of the elements. You could think it's like your delta x or delta t. So you can see it's all by 3s now. If I know my start and stop, and I know how many elements I want, then I can use linspace. If I know my start and stop and I know the increment in those in that array, then I can use the colon operator. If I don't put a middle value in the colon operator, if I said, say, 0:15, that's just the start and the stop, the default here is by ones. So I will get 0 through 15. So those are the main ways that we will be generating arrays or vectors in MATLAB.